better. Okay. So let me just start with a little story. A couple years ago, I received an email from my brother. And just to give you a little background, I grew up in L.A. I found the center, which I'm going to tell you a little more later, but I found the center a number of years ago and moved around through the center, and here we find myself and my family in Florida. So I moved out of California in 1988. So I received about 2 years ago, I received a notice in the email from my brother. And if one day you'll meet my brother, you know he has a lot of time on his hands. Yeah, okay. Not like Boca, where we're all busy all the time. So he sends me this email about something called unclaimed property. So I open it up, and I see that when I left California in 1988, apparently I left a savings deposit box. So now on the state, whatever, unclaimed property list is my name and this safety deposit box. So of course, what's the first thing you think? Wow, what did I leave there? Not how did I leave it, like what could be in that safety deposit box? I didn't put a lot in there that I could remember, but sure, my imagination went and said, wow, maybe I won the lottery. Maybe there's a lottery ticket. Who knows? Maybe there's a stock certificate that has increased in value over all these years. Why not? I grew up with in Redondo Beach, California, and there was this one very fancy large house that nobody ever seemed to live in it. And it came to find out, because my father was involved in city politics, that it was the summer home of a family who back in, I guess, the 30s, when Coca-Cola first came out, they had like a little mom and pop grocery store, and they invested a few dollars in Coca-Cola stock. So you know what happened to that. So I get this notice, unclaimed property, and I'm thinking, who knows? So of course, I send it in, it's nothing, it's empty, but it had my name on it, so they couldn't do anything about it until I released it. You're supposed to say, oh, okay, thank you. Great. So what does that have to do with today? So if I tell you, especially for the new people, the Kabbalists teach us that we all started as pieces of Adam and Eve. Whether you believe they existed physically or not, we'll just go with the story. So Adam and Eve, the first human beings that come into this world, came out of the endless world of perfection, as we call it. So they're perfect human beings. Imagine, and you and I are pieces of them, almost like cells of their body. So from Adam and Eve came all 7 billion people we see today. And therefore, if we are pieces of that perfection, so then who are we? We are also perfect. We also have that perfection within us. But now as the story goes, let's say they were not completely dried, right? They were molded, if we use the metaphor, they're molded by God, in the image and likeness of God, all this perfection. They're brought into the Garden of Eden. And the Garden of Eden, of course, is also perfect. It's also perfection. Perfect people in a perfect place. The issue was, like we said, they weren't dried yet. They weren't yet complete in this world. So in front of them, we had two choices. If you remember the story, tree of knowledge and the tree of life. And what did the Creator say to us? To us, not them. Don't eat of the tree of knowledge. Just eat of the tree of life. So then what happened? So then along comes this entity that they call the snake, you can call the opponent. It's given a lot of names in a lot of different studies. We will talk about it as the opponent or the adversary. So the opponent comes along, and what does it do? It starts whispering in the ears of Adam and Eve. Did God tell you that you are going to be or are like God? You're created in that image and likeness? Yes. Said, well, if God is perfect and God is all-knowing, and you are to be like God, then shouldn't you also know good and evil? Makes sense, doesn't it? Yes, makes sense. So what did they do? What did we do? We ate of the tree of knowledge, good and evil, and from that point forth we created imperfection. Oh, okay, thank you. So what's the whole point? So go back to the unclaimed property. What is being issued every single day to every single one of us is a notice of unclaimed property. What's unclaimed? Your perfection. What's unclaimed? Your piece of the Garden of Eden. So it's our job now to start claiming, reclaiming, and demanding of the universe our piece of the Garden of Eden. Because it's already in our name. Just like that savings deposit box was in my name and the bank couldn't do anything with it until it was released. So too, the light of our soul, the perfection that we've been given, is already within us. It's already there. It's waiting to be reclaimed. Because with our free will, as we did as Adam and Eve, we are able to choose behaving in that perfect way or not behaving in that perfect way. Choosing the tree of life or choosing the tree of knowledge, good and evil. And unfortunately, what if we got inside of our head? The same thing that Adam and Eve had. They have that same voice that says, no, you can't make it, you can't achieve it, etc. And that's the whole point of the opponent. Think about, you ever play ping pong? You ever seen ping pong? Anybody never seen ping pong? Okay. So in ping pong, what's the purpose? What's the point of the game? You're hitting the ball back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What does the opponent want? What does the person on the other side of the net want? They want you to miss. So they're going to try everything they can in whatever capability they have to hit the ball with a curve, with a spin, in a place you're not, etc. Everything to get you to miss the ball. And when you miss the ball, what do they get? They get the point. So why do you think in the Garden of Eden, this entity called the opponent, the snake, the adversary, why was it tempting Adam and Eve to give in to the tree of knowledge, good and evil? Why didn't it just let them eat of the tree of life and have perfection? Because just like the opponent in ping pong, if you lose the point, the opponent gets the point. So the whole purpose of this opponent in the Garden of Eden was to rob us, to steal from us our light, our pieces of perfection, sparks of the light of the Creator that are within us. So then we go back to the idea, we are works in progress, as Adam and Eve. They were works in progress. They were molded in perfection as we are molded in perfection, but they weren't yet completely manifest of that perfection. So in between comes this thing called the opponent, the adversary. And the adversary's job is to tempt us. And before I go further, just to remind you, those of you who are taking the classes, you understand this in great detail. But just for those of you who are new, this opponent, I know whatever background, sometimes we talk about it, you hear it, the devil, something outside of you, this thing trying to attack you. No. The opponent, Kabbalistically, it's in your own head. It's the voice in your head that says, be angry, be upset, be fearful, be greedy, be envious, be resentful, be hurt, be sad. It's the voice in our own head. All you have to do is stop and think of the last time you felt a little stress. You remember a little stress? Yeah. Coming here in the rain, I get it, okay. You're a little stressed. What's the voice in your head telling you? Don't go, eat the chocolate chip cookie, get angry and upset. How dare they speak to you that way? All the things that our thoughts, our influence, our temptation to act in a non-godlike way, and in doing so, give away a piece of your godlike energy. Those sparks of the light of the Creator within you. So when you give them away, because of the temptation of this opponent that's in your head, because it's never the outside thing. You can tell me, Chaim, but you don't know what they did to me. You don't know how they acted. You don't know what they said. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's your choice. You hold the keys. You hold the power of that light, those sparks in your hand. And you can choose to give them or not give them. Just because somebody is behaving in a negative way, and just because you're feeling upset, hurt, sad, fearful, whatever it may be, does not mean that you are forced to give it away. Just because you're feeling upset, hurt, angry, resentful, shame, guilt, ego, doesn't matter. You have the free will to decide, as we did as Adam and Eve. Give our light away to the opponent by giving into the tree of knowledge good and evil. So that means we're recognizing that something's bad. What is the tree of life? To recognize that everything is given to us for our good. So imagine, how do you feel? You ever been in a situation like that? Somebody really pushing your buttons, really trying to get your goat. How do you beat them? Don't give in. The moment you give in, they got you. And they're satisfied. So if you want to play against the opponent in them with the opponent in you, because it's not about them. But how do you overcome your opponent that's saying, don't let them behave that way. Give them what for? Scream and yell. Give away your light. So how do you beat your opponent and help them beat their opponent? Don't give in. Don't give in. Act godlike. Act with kindness, compassion, joy, something. We are all on that journey to reclaim our piece of the Garden of Eden. We are all works in progress, working to manifest that which we were given in the upper worlds and that which we're here in this world to make manifest. Our piece of the Garden of Eden and our perfection. It's waiting for us. It's already there. Just like that safety deposit box. Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything in the box. But for all those years, from 1988 till probably 2-3 years ago, that box was sitting there waiting for me to claim it. Your light, your perfection, it's sitting inside you waiting for you to claim it. All you have to do is claim it. But what's the problem? So this opponent, this energy inside our head, this temptation, when he robs us of our sparks of light, what does he do with them? He takes them and he takes your light. I just want you to follow this. He takes your light that you've given away and he goes to his bank and he puts it in his bank account. It's your light, it's your blessing, it's your perfection, it's your good, and he's putting it in his bank, holding it and taking advantage of it. What we're learning here in the center, the Kabbalah Center, is how to go reclaim and take those sparks of light away from that opponent. Because remember, who does it belong to? It belongs to... Oops. Okay. Maybe I should repeat that. There's that opponent trying to take away something. Okay. Okay. So why are we so concerned? I mean, I lived all those years without that box. And even if there had been something in that box, I lived all those years without it, without needing it. So why don't we just move on and, okay, why not? We'll what do they say, cut our losses. We'll leave it to the opponent and that's that. No. What the Kabbalists teach us, what the wisdom of the Zohar is teaching us, that we've already been giving 100%. It's already inside of us waiting to be manifest. So just like, you ever been to one of these arcades? You ever been to the arcades and you play skeet or you play video games and you get tickets? Right? So you add up the tickets, you collect tickets, and then what do you do with it? Your tickets can then be redeemed for whatever prize they have on the board. So in life, it's a similar idea. How many of you would like to have something better in your life than you have now? Any of you? Something, anything better. So that extra that you want, it's also made up of. It costs a certain amount of sparks of light. Certain amount of energy to make that happen. So just like these games that you save up the tickets to redeem them for whatever prize you want, so too, to have the extra business, protection, peace, love, whatever good blessing you want in life, whatever you're looking for, there's a cost in terms of light, sparks of light that are necessary for you to have that. So up to a certain point you can say, okay, I don't care, maybe I don't remember, it's no big deal what this opponent took away, because I have so much more. But at some point, if you think in simple terms, if he took away 60% of your potential, and you're now living at 30% of your potential, you may not notice it. But when you start to advance yourself spiritually and now you hit 40% and you want to get to 45, where's that 5% you're looking for? It's in the bank of the opponent that he robbed from you. Could be years and years ago when you got angry, when you acted with fear, when you acted with ego, when you acted with resentment, etc. When you acted in the tree of knowledge, good and evil behavior, and gave away your sparks of light to that opponent, and he put in his bank account your light, and now you need it. Because you've got to go from 40 to 45. But he's got 60% of your light. So you've got to take it back 5%. And then when you're at 45 and you want to get to 50, what do you have to do? You have to take back another 5. So you've got to constantly be reclaiming your light, your piece of the Garden of Eden, from his bank account. But whose is it really? And that's important to understand. It doesn't belong to him and you're stealing it back. He stole it from you by making you give it to him by all those negative thoughts in your head. And when you gave it away, all he could do is be a manager of it. He doesn't own it. It's owned by you. Doesn't matter that you gave it away. You can't really give it away, can you? Because who does it belong to? It belongs to you because the Creator gave it to you. 100% of it. So you can loan it to that opponent, which is really all it is. But it's now time to reclaim it. That's why you're sitting here. That's why you're in this room this morning. Because you're ready, you're willing, able, and you desire to have more than you've got now. To get back to reclaiming that perfection that started so many thousands of years ago. And you feel it in your soul. And that's the key. We all have the capability. It's already within us. It's just now being awakened to the next piece and the next piece and the next piece. So how do we do it? How are we going to reclaim it? Simple. Not easy, but simple. You gave it away by acting in a non-godlike way. You gave it away by behaving with fear and anger and greed and jealousy and what have you. Why? Under the temptation of that voice in your head. But let's be real. Let's be objective. At the moment you heard that voice in your head tell you, get angry, go eat the chocolate chip cookie. No, just checking, okay. Act with ego, be fearful, whatever it is, you have that voice on one side of your head. At the same time, the tree of knowledge, good and evil, is speaking to you here. What's speaking to you on the other side? The tree of life, the voice of the Creator inside you. Tell you no. Yes, the person may be acting in a negative way. They may be taunting and tempting you with their behavior and with the help of that voice in your head to be angry, to be upset, to give away your light. But it's our ability, and the voice of the Creator in our head is telling us, This is a person who also doesn't feel the light of the Creator inside them. Why hold it against them? Help them hear the voice of the Creator. Help them feel the light of the Creator within them. Help them also have an awakening to want to reclaim their piece of the Garden of Eden, their power of perfection. And the way to do that is act. When you're feeling like acting non-godlike, and you act godlike instead. You replace fear with trust and certainty. You replace hatred or resentment with love and compassion. You replace ego with humility. In those moments, you are reclaiming what you gave away to your opponent. And the beauty is, as much as we have free will to give it away, that opponent has no free will to keep it. That opponent has no free will and no ability to keep your light when you're reclaiming it from his account, your power. So then the one who decides what you get and how you end up and what goes on in your life is whom? It's you. It's you. It's me. We're the ones. We're the ones. So we have to say to ourselves right now, I am reclaiming my piece of the Garden of Eden right now. Can you say that? I am reclaiming my piece of the Garden of Eden right now. Okay, do it again. Sounds good. I don't think they heard you down at Powerline. Could you say it again? All right. Give yourselves a hand. So now let me give you a biblical story that kind of shows a little bit of that. And maybe we can relate ourselves into the picture. So many of you have heard the story of Moses. Right? Moses. Okay. I'm not so much here to give you the whole biblical story, but just the essence, how it relates with us. So if you remember simply, Moses was the prince of Egypt. Right? He came to be basically the Pharaoh's adopted son, the king of Egypt's adopted son. Then some interesting situations happened and he had to run away. He had to flee for his life. So imagine, he's fleeing for his life. He goes, he settles, he gets married, he has children. He's living probably a relatively decent life. Maybe. What was his potential? He already lived into it. He started it. He tasted it. King of Egypt, prince of Egypt. So we understand he had more potential than what he was living when he was out of Egypt, when he had run away. Ever happened to you? You ever lost anything? Lost a position, lost a relationship, lost something? So you kind of feel, well, but you made up for it, you're living a decent life, everything's okay. But something's still gnawing at you, right? The voice in your head still gnawing at you. So what happened to Moses? Moses sees the burning bush. The voice of God coming to him. Moses, you can no longer stay where you are. You have to go back and not only be prince of Egypt, but you have to be the leader of all the Israelites, and you have to free them from bondage of Egypt. The burning bush. I guarantee you, if we stopped and asked each one of you, you've all had that burning bush. You've all had the voice of the Creator inside your head, telling you there's so much more you need to achieve. There's so much more you're capable of. There's so much more possibility in your life. You have dreams, you have aspirations, which is at least part of that 100% that you're capable of. But we've settled ourselves for whatever nice life we've been in, up into that point, like Moses when he hears the voice out of the burning bush. And we hear that same voice of the Creator communicating with us. See, there's the voice. The voice of the Creator telling us, it's time to go redeem your sparks of light. It's time to go live into your potential. And so just like Moses, we have to do that. So Moses had the direct voice of the Creator. Maybe some of you feel you have that much of a direct voice. But for the moment you don't quite feel that direct voice, that's why the Creator's given us Kabbalah and the Zohar. The technology of the soul to be able to stay in constant contact with the power of the Creator in and around us. That's what it's about. There has to be a methodology. Back to the Garden of Eden, there was a methodology. Tree of knowledge, tree of life. There was the voice of that opponent. There was the voice of the Creator. It's all there. It's all there ready for us to call upon it. So the same thing. That's what we're here to do. We have the power. We have the potential. We just need the technology. Some of you have tried other ways. You've looked for things. You read books, self-help, different books. That's what brought you here. Because everything that you've ever done brought you to this point to be able to achieve all that you were given in the Garden of Eden. All that was there that we just gave away just before it was fully formed within us as our piece of Adam and Eve. And so now we're the same point. We're hearing the calling in our own way. Don't look at anybody else and measure yourself against somebody else. Well, their calling seems to be this, or somebody already achieved it. Who cares? Imagine, go back to Moses. He's sitting in the land. He's got his family. Everything's great. He's a shepherd. He's doing whatever it is. Did he look over in Egypt and say, well, why are they getting what they're getting, they're having? No, he didn't. But when the voice called him to become Moses, he followed that voice. When we have that calling, it's important for us also to follow that voice. Because remember, where's the voice coming from? If you only have two voices, you have that one voice of the opponent telling you to lower yourself, reduce your energy, give away your blessings, and just have maybe a decent life, but probably more than often than not, a little bit of misery, a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of not feeling good about everything, a little bit of I wish I had done, I wish I could be, I wish I could do. Well, all those are telling you have the capability. When you listen to that burning bush, and just like they said with the burning bush, it burned but it wasn't consumed. Because sometimes when we have those dreams and we have those thoughts, they burn. And they burn for a short while, and we give them a shot. It doesn't work the first or second time, and then what do? We forget about it. Like the bush that would be consumed. But the bush, as it tells us in the story, it was burning, burning, burning with the voice of the Creator, and it never was consumed. It would never go out. And because the Creator gave us that 100%, it can never stop. So you have two choices. You can try and plug your ears. You can try and close your eyes. You can try and ignore it. But remember, where is that voice? As the voice of the opponent is in your head, so too is the voice of the Creator in your head. So it's never going to stop. It's that fire that burns that will never finish until you achieve it. Until Moses went into Egypt and faced his past. Pharaoh, his basically adopted father, and all that was going on there. And he had to go back with his new life and his new consciousness and his new awareness and that new power and understanding within him. He had to go face his past. That's why you cannot run away from your challenges. You have to replace. You've got to go to the bank of the opponent and reclaim your energy. So you're going to feel upset. You're going to feel hurt. You're going to feel angry. You're going to feel scared. You're going to feel all those negative things. And it's exactly in that moment when you can write the claim slip to take back what you have given, what you have deposited maybe years and years ago, and maybe some of it you even forgot about. But today, the voice out of that burning bush comes to your head and tells you now is the time to take it back. Now is the time to reclaim it. It's yours. Nobody else can make use of it. It's yours for the asking. But you've got to reclaim it by the behavior. So then the mistakes we make, being that we're a work in progress, the mistakes are not mistakes. We hear it a lot in different ways. But how many times has it taken a mistake, a difficulty, a challenge to wake us up and make us change our tune, change our direction in life? Think about it. Difficult situation comes, even a tragedy, and makes people change their direction. Very interesting story that you read in the Bible, and we read it recently, which is why it comes to mind so powerfully. And it also represents, like the Zohar and the Kabbalists teach us, light and blessing can only come out of darkness and chaos. Light can only come out of the darkness. So if you think about it then, where there is the greatest darkness, can come the greatest light. So it's a very interesting story, and I'm going to share it with you, but don't get caught up only in the literal story. But it's a story of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. So you have this gentleman Lot, who's the nephew of Abraham the patriarch, and he's living there. He's told to leave Sodom and Gomorrah. He leaves Sodom and Gomorrah as it's being destroyed. His wife, if you know the story, turns around, whatever, she turns into a pillar of salt. Basically, she dies. Now he's left Lot and his two daughters. So they perceive the world is destroyed. So the daughters get this idea that if mankind is going to continue, they have to continue it. It's them and their father. So if you read it very carefully, it says, and the one daughter got him drunk, her father, went in, had relations, and she had a child from that relationship. So you say, that's what the Bible wants to teach us? It gets better. Because from that relationship comes the Moabites. From the Moabites comes a woman named Ruth. From Ruth comes a gentleman named King David. From King David comes the Messiah. Should I repeat that? From the relationship of Lot and his daughter came Moab. From Moab eventually came Ruth. From Ruth comes King David. from King David comes the Messiah, peace on earth. So the Kabbalists teach us the greatest light, which is what the Messiah represents, peace and harmony, love your neighbors yourself, comes out of the greatest darkness. So how do you and I relate to that? What can we understand? Simple. Instead of feeling guilty and ashamed about the terrible things that you've done, or angry, hateful, and resentful about the things that have been done to you, it's today that it's our opportunity to start reclaiming the light, because in that greatest amount of darkness sits the greatest intensity of the light of our soul, sparks of our light, blessings that we're looking for, that as we'll reclaim it, imagine, go back to the amusement park. You know, you have that one toy up there, that one prize that's like the thing you really, really want, not just the little whistles that are 2 or 3 or 5 tickets. But in order to get that, it's 400 tickets, 500 tickets, 800 tickets. It's a lot of tickets to get that thing that you want. To get the Messiah in your life, peace and harmony, a greater sense of serenity and fulfillment, it takes a lot. But you've already got it. It's in those dark moments when you look back and you have the resentment and you have the hurt and you have the anger and you have the shame. What the Kabbalists are teaching us through that story is that if we will now, as we're discussing, reclaim, demand from the universe by our actions, not by our mouth, by our actions to reclaim the light we gave away, then all of the negative things we've done, all of the negative things we've experienced can then be transformed and turned into light and blessing. Are you looking for light and blessing? Are you looking for light and blessing you don't have yet? That's where it's hiding. That's where the opponent puts it. Because most of us, we're not willing to go back to those moments and reclaim the light. But I hope now you understand that the most powerful shifts in your life, shifts you may not have any concept of, take place through using either the past experiences or the ones that happen to you today, now. And if I can just share with you a quick story. There was a young man, 12, 13 years old, who experienced death of a relative for the first time. And decided at that point that he was going to be a doctor. Because he felt, being a doctor, he could help take away people's pain and suffering. So for years, from 12, 13 years old, people asked him, what do you want to be? A doctor. What kind of doctor? I don't know, a doctor. Doctor. Take away people's pain and suffering. So imagine, from 12 years old, through college, studying pre-med, about 1977. Yes, he'd seen not only the one relative die, the other grandparents pass, a few cousins. 1977, applying to medical school. His mother dies of cancer. It wasn't quick, but it was extremely powerful, because this woman showed the will to live. Because the doctors would tell her, and told the family, it's so far gone, she's got to die this week. And she would live through the week, because relatives had to come from outside the state to come visit, say their goodbyes. People of the community had to come and make their peace. On and on and on. And the doctors would just be frustrated. You know, she can't last another day. She lasts another day. She can't last another day. She lasts another day. Till they finally said, we don't know. She's going to go when she's going to go. And so sure enough, after she made peace with everybody, she said her goodbyes, then she left. So here's this young man on his way to be a doctor, and he sees very clearly, with all respect to medicine, they don't have the answers. They don't have the answers. Not anything in a negative, they just don't have the answers. They don't have the technology how to remove pain and suffering. So it was at that moment there was a huge shift in direction for this young man. And he started to study spirituality. Because somehow, like you and I, feel that there's something more to this universe than what we see or experience with our 5 senses. There's something more out there, and we're capable of more. We all would like to see peace on earth. Sometimes we just allow ourselves to give in to the cynicism of the world. So this young man turned his life towards spirituality, and after a number of years found the Kabbalah Centre, and after 20 some odd years is standing in front of you today. Still a young man. But I just want to share that with you because you never know what's going on right now. In that moment that the shift happens, when tragedy strikes, it's our free will, either to give in and give up or to get up and get going. And that's your free choice right now. You're going to reclaim your piece of the Garden of Eden, you're going to reclaim your perfection, or you're just going to live how you are and just continue and see if it's good enough. But you already have a sense, because you're sitting here in this room, that it's not good enough. And you're not going to be satisfied. So it's time just to get going. It's time to really keep reminding yourself, today I'm reclaiming my piece of the Garden of Eden. And why can I do that? Because I'm already pure and perfect. The universe already gave it to me. It's already sitting. Some of it in my bank account of delight and some of it in that opponent's bank account. But if you add up the total between what's there and here, what have you got? 100%. It's ready. It's available for you to take it.